Hi, my name's Mia. I'm 17 and I'm currently signed with Phoenix Models London. I've been modelling for about 10 months now, so I'm still fairly new to the industry, but there's quite a lot that's gone on in that time frame that I've always wanted to talk about. So my agency scouted me about 3 days after my 17th birthday, and I'm still fairly young and I'm still fairly new. I think it's very important to remember that modelling isn't all it turns out to be, because people always assume it's a really glamorous job and that there's no need for things like the Be Well Collective, and that models don't need to be looked after because they've got such fun jobs. But in reality, it is a job and it comes with problems. I think personally, modelling has both really improved my self-confidence, but then in some ways it has sort of made me struggle with it a bit, because you're going to castings quite often. I'm quite petite as well, so I'm going to castings full of rooms with like 5'10", beautiful leggy brunettes, and sometimes you can't help but compare yourself. And it's times like that when it gets stressful, when it gets too much, that you kind of need to take time out. So things that I like to do is remember my hobbies. So if I'm having a stressful week, I've had castings or I've been abroad and I've just got home, it's been a late flight, I like to do things like play the piano. I like baking and cooking. I like things that tend to, you can immerse yourself, like you can't think about anything else. When you're playing the piano, you just got the sheet music, nothing else. Same with cooking, you're just following a recipe, and it's methodical stuff that lets you take time out of that headspace. I think other things that are really important is, it sounds really cliche, but remembering to treat yourself. Like, it doesn't have to be like a new handbag or anything like that. I think fairly recently I went to an event with the Be Well Collective at Claridge's, and there was these amazing goodie bags that were just stuffed full of absolutely anything and everything. And I remember there was these really nice tea bags in there, and just making yourself like a nice cup of tea with like some fancy tea bags is sometimes all it takes to just make yourself feel better. I think as well, one of the main problems is that people who don't work in the industry don't have a very good idea of what it takes and what it feels like to be in it. I mean, at 17, I was still doing I am still 17, but I was doing my academics alongside my modelling because it was something I'd never really considered before. And then suddenly I was thrust into this whole new career. And it was quite daunting. Like, it was really daunting to think about having to do my A-levels, as well as whether or not I'm on option for something or if I can confirm for this day. And it was really important at the time that I had an agency that really understood me and what I value, because I really value getting my A-levels, getting into a uni, because modelling is a lucrative career, but I understand that it is still limited. So for me, having my studies was incredibly important, and my agency completely understood that. And having that mutual trust and respect with your agent and your booker and all of that, I think was one of the most important things for your well-being. Because if the people who are meant to be guiding you for your career don't understand you or don't value what you value and help you with that, then it's going to be a lot harder than it is already. I think as well, people always assume that as a model, you've got it easy, when you really don't, because they think it's a fun job where you earn loads of money for doing little things, you get flights paid for, you get this, you get that. When it's a long day, you're commuting, you're traveling, you're going to castings that about, I'd say, 80% of the time, you don't get the job. And it can be really hard emotionally and physically. I think that's the main thing I'd say to anyone who's like considering modelling, is that not to take it lightly. Don't assume that it's like a fun career that every girl dreams of, because it takes a lot of work. When you're working for long periods of time, you need to remember that you need to recharge. You can't just keep going and going and going, because eventually you will hit a wall, and that's not something you want to do, especially if you're on the height of fashion week or you're on a really important job and you want to make it work and it's good for you. You need to take time out, like 100%.